Hello, welcome to ProLife Brand,
where we share our ideas to create a unifying visual identity for the pro-life movement.
This is Kate Yep, along with my husband,
Kai Yep. And our baby too.
Thanks for tuning in. It's a really exciting time for the pro-life movement right now with Roe v. Wade recently being overturned. And we have a lot of ideas for the future of the pro-life movement, so we're excited to share those with you. If you have found us here, you probably have heard a little bit about ProLife Brand already, so we're here to describe that in more detail in a series of mini episodes for you. This first episode, we are going to start with a little bit more about who we are and then jump into more of our project. So, Kai, why don't you start off and share a little bit about us and more about your background?
Yes, well, thanks, Kate. I'm really excited to be here to be doing this finally and sharing more about the project. As I said, my name is Kai. I am originally from Peru, born and raised in Peru. I've been in the United States for 7 years, and my professional background is kind of diverse. I started in engineering, then I thought I would be a priest for a few years, so I went to the seminary. I eventually started my career in design in Costa Rica, actually, where I worked as a freelance brand designer. I did some motion graphics, illustrations, that kind of thing. I currently work in the tech industry, designing as a user experience designer, UX we call it, and I design websites, web applications, mobile applications. One thing to notice though is when I was getting my degree in design and getting my thesis, I decided to do it in with the topic of flags. So I studied flags for a season in a way, and my thesis was published by the North American Vexillological Association magazine. If you don't know that word, I didn't know it either, so that's fine. But basically, the study of flags. Right?
Yeah, bonus points if you knew what it was.
Yeah. So anyway, I love flags. And what else? I am currently a member of the Knights of Columbus too. So yeah.
And what do you do for ProLife Brand right now?
Well, as you could imagine, my work with the project is mainly designing and some of the strategy too, but anything visual that you might have seen in related to our project, like our website, probably some Instagram posts, like anything that we have printed, like the actual stickers that we sell, all that stuff I do on a daily basis. But I also, I'm the one who created the main symbol that we're promoting. So
great. Cool. Well, I can share a little bit about me. I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago, and I went out to my undergrad degree in Seattle. I have a Bachelor of Science in Physiology, and I decided at some point along the way to go into public health. And after graduating, I landed a job with WIC, which stands for Women, Infants, and Children, and it's a nationwide program, a nutrition program for low-income families. So I helped counsel parents in how to give their kids like a healthy diet. And at that time, I really fell in love with maternal and child health. So I went for my master's in public health and got a concentration in maternal and child health and epidemiology. And during my master's program, I really learned a lot about fetal development and just found it absolutely fascinating. But I was also very disappointed with how pro-abortion many of my colleagues and my professors were. So I might get into that a little bit more in a different episode. But that is where I kind of come into this world in this project. And, we really felt like recently there was a great need for something like ProLife Brand. So, Kai, why don't you share about what we saw as like an opportunity in the current pro-life movement that we felt we could fulfill with PLB?
For sure. So we are so happy to be part of the pro-life movement, and we've seen a lot of improvements and a lot of power in a way in the streets in the way that I've seen many activists promote life. What we haven't seen, though, is a visual symbol that can unify all those efforts. We actually went to a pro-life march in Lansing, Michigan, and when we were arriving, we saw the crowd, like a good crowd, 200 people probably, but it was very hard to know why they were gathering, and that's when we noticed.
From the outside, you couldn't tell.
You couldn't tell, correct.
Right.
That was one of those instances when we thought, yeah, we need something like a symbol. So anyway, I think that for me, this idea has been around for a while. I grew up being pro-life, and from my background in design, I noticed that quite early, and I started sketching out ideas and, talking to you, Kate, and thinking about this. And so we launched the project last year. But basically the aim is to give the pro-life movement that visibility, the visual unity that other social movements have. And probably if, for example, if I say to you, if I showed you a rainbow flag, you would know exactly what it stands for. You have seen it before, and that is because it's been used consistently across the board. Even though it's in different ways, you know what it is. Or other flags, like the fist, probably you know what that means, and so forth. So our vision, our dream is to have that level of impact in the culture.
Right. So that's basically why we started ProLife Brand. It's our grassroots initiative to strengthen the social impact of the pro-life movement by promoting a universal pro-life symbol and visual identity. And for us, this is more than just having a flag to wave, although that's part of it, but it's a whole design system, which we'll talk more about probably in the next episode. But Kai, you're the mastermind behind this symbol, so why don't you describe a little bit about what our symbol looks like and about the flag?
Yeah, so as you said, we can probably dive into all the details even more in a future episode, but here I have the design of the flag. You can see it right there. It's basically a spiral. So if we want to explain the parts, you see the white part in the middle. That's clearly the baby. So the white represents the purity of the human soul, and then the purple, that is the actual spiral around the baby, is the mother. So you can see the belly and the baby. The purple is a very feminine color, and then you have the light blue in the background that represents the father figure, which sometimes is neglected, but fathers sometimes are not there, right? So it can also represent society at large, protecting the baby and the mother. And the main concept is the spiral. And we can explain this a little further later, but basically spirals are a shape, a form that we find in nature in so many parts. Like you think of the galaxies, and when you see the photos, amazing photos, you see a spiral. When you see waves in the ocean, when you see shells, the way some animals move, there's so many
or like
spirals.
a frond on a fern or something like that.
Right. There's actually a whole video compilation, we can post it on Facebook, of like the spirals in nature. But anyway, so that's a resemblance of nature, of creation, and humanity as part of that. But one of the key ideas is also that a spiral as a shape has a center, and you can see where it starts. So that's human life at conception, but then it keeps growing, and it's open-ended, and that's exactly what we want to promote for this symbol. That is not only the beginning of life that we care about, because we're pro-life. It's not only pro-beginning of life. So the spiral already implies that it continues. So we want the message of life to be broader, and it's open to eternity in a way.
Right. That's what I love about it, is that it's broad enough to go beyond just talking about conception. Though life is precious from conception, and we proclaim that, but it can be something that we take beyond that too, right? The pro-life movement cares about women and cares about families. So that's what I love about our symbol. It's simple, beautiful, meaningful. So yeah, you can find out more about this at ProLifeBrand.com. And that's all we have time today for our first episode. But please tune in again to hear more about the ProLife Brand project and our personal pro-life stories. And follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at ProLife Brand.